Willkommen zurück auf der Mainstage der Austria Comic Con 2021. Wieder mit einem absolut genialen Film für alle Fans von kleinen Leuten mit haarigen Füßen, also mir. Aber ich glaube, wir wollen alle wen anderen sehen. Ladies and Gentlemen, Adam Brown! Hello, please. Take a seat and let me continue. Yes, please, take it. And let me continue my habit at the Comic-Con of doing not what I was told to do.
Okay.
Like tripping over people. No. The first thing actually that I found when I was looking for your info was that you became an actor second, but the first thing that you were trained to do and did passionately was comedy, especially you're a trained clown.
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell us how that came to be?
Well, yeah, hello everyone, by the way, hello. The long story short is that I had a comedy double act. I trained in physical comedy, and I met my comedy partner, and I used to go to the Edinburgh Festival and create shows, silly shows, and tour the world with them. We went all over the UK, and then we also went to New Zealand, Armenia, South Korea. We were supported by the British Council. So yeah, it was. That's how I earned my living, really. And then this bloody movie came along.
We are going to go to the movie very quickly, but first, you wouldn't happen to still remember some of your old comedy routines and bits that you could maybe share with an audience that definitely would like to see something?
No, honestly, it's so long ago, and I'm not just saying that. I don't know, I wouldn't know anything, but essentially it's lots of props and lots of things that go wrong on purpose, but to the audience it's like we've really mucked up. So yeah, it's so long ago I won't be able to remember.
Okay,
sorry.
No problem. But then let's go to the movie and film career. After doing the comedy bits, how did you transition to the big screen?
Well, essentially, I got a phone call from my agent saying, "There's an audition for you for The Hobbit." And I thought the agent was talking about the play, and I said, "Oh, it's a play. What venues is it going to? Where's it touring to?" And he was like, "No. This is Peter Jackson's The Hobbit. You must go to the audition." So they were looking for Bilbo Baggins at that time because Martin Freeman, who was doing Sherlock, wasn't released from the BBC contract. So I was an actor under a certain height level that went up for the audition. And because I did theatre, I didn't really expect anything. And I got a phone call from my agent saying, "They really, really loved your tape. You're not Bilbo Baggins." Honestly, it would be a very different film if I was. But we would just absolutely love to offer you the role of a dwarf, which was fantastic, but I'd not read the book, so I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great," and didn't think anything about it. And then like 6 weeks later, I got a phone call. I said, "Pack your bags. You're about to live in New Zealand for 2 years." So yeah, it was a phone call that changed my life, really.
I can only imagine you getting the phone call. Your agent says, "Oh yeah, this is Peter Jackson's The Hobbit calling," and you're like, "Oh yeah, is it April Fool's Day?"
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I was in the car around London. There's a big road that goes around London very slowly, loads of traffic. It was raining. The phone rang. It was my agent, and I wasn't driving. But I said to my friend, just stop the car. I got out of the car. I didn't know where I was. I went straight to the pub. I was like this. And I went to the barman, excuse me, can I have a scotch, please? I don't even drink whiskey. I don't drink whiskey, but I just had to have some, like, whiskey. And then I went to get my phone to tell my dad, but I had no battery on my phone. So I was trying to call him, and so I was going around to all of the people and asking for a phone charger, just so I could tell my dad that I had a role in The Hobbit. So yeah, it was all very weird.
Awesome. But the thing is, what I think about when you first enter the set of The Hobbit, I know it's a very stupid question, but we have it in our head. How does that feel? I mean, you know the buildings and the sets from the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
exactly.
But then you're actually there.
Yeah.
That kind of must feel like Disneyland in real life.
Yeah, it really was like, it didn't feel real. I was like pinching myself. Essentially, you know, I was in the first scene we shot back end. It was back end, so I was in Bilbo's house, and Peter Jackson came to me. He knew I'd never done film before. He came up to me and went, "We're going to start you off slowly. Come here. You're going to be in the background in this shot." And I just remember literally so scared, but all the actors were amazing. Martin, Ian McKellen were fantastic, and yeah, it was just one of those. Because like you say, you watch the films, it was a world that I knew of, and then to be there, yeah, pretty mind-blowing.
I mean, I recall that a lot of The Hobbit has been made in front of green screens. So I think when you say it's the first film that you do, you said as a first movie, The Hobbit is not a bad start, which is true. But and you said you didn't have the big experience as an actor yet, but how difficult or different was it for you to act opposite real people in front of real buildings, or just having a green wall behind you?
Well, coming from a theatre background, you have no money. You have to make up things. You know, we were doing plays where we would be traveling or in a car, and the car wasn't there because we couldn't afford a car. So you kind of make it up. So weirdly enough, the green screen became very much like a theatre production. You're using your mind to imagine all these things. And then getting onto set, I mean, it was so, back end is so real. Every detail, the food, the cutlery, the pictures on the wall, everything, it's like you're in the building, and that is a great, easier tool, I guess, to in terms of being in the world. But I always said New Zealand is so strange. Like, sometimes we filmed on location, and the scenery was so beautiful, it was almost fake. And then you get into the studio, and that was so real, but that was fake. It was kind of a weird kind of, yeah, two different worlds, really.
So do you still remember what exactly was the first thing that you shot, the first scene, the first shot where you had to act? Because you said the first shot you were just in the background. Which scene was it that was shot first?
It was back end. It was Ian McKellen coming to the back end, Gandalf coming to the door, and I was in the corner eating some food probably, or drawing in Ori's book with his notebook. That was the first scene. So yeah, pretty iconic scene as well.
So now that we have seen all 3 Hobbit films, we know that things are getting remade very often, sometimes very recent stuff gets remakes. There is a new Lord of the Rings run coming. But looking back at the story and the characters of The Hobbit, if you were to produce a remake and you got to change one thing from the trilogy, what would be the first thing that I say, no, I like this, but no?
I'd give Ori better clothes. I'd give him a better hairdo. I'd reduce his makeup time in the morning, and maybe pay him a lot more as well. How's that sound?
How long was your makeup time in the morning?
It took around 3 hours. 3 hours every day. So, yeah, got picked up at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then finally got to set about, 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock in the morning, got to set at 9 o'clock 9 o'clock. That was if you were lucky. Sometimes the dwarves would go through the whole process of being woken up, makeup, and then the hair, the costume, and suddenly you get a knock on your door after you are totally made up and say, sorry, Adam, they're not going to use you today. You're like, what? I've gone through all of this to get ready and not being used. So, yeah.
But something else that I'm always curious about, because I know that John Rhys-Davies had a lot of problems with his prosthetics and his makeup as Gimli, because I think it took 5 hours to apply, and he even had allergic reactions. So the first thing that he did when filming wrapped, and he was given, this is a part of your prosthetics, he took it, threw it in the fire, and said, die. How did the makeup feel for you?
Well, luckily enough, there was a big time difference. So, the technology had moved on, but I still had one reaction to the makeup, because you put it on your face every day, and it sort of depends as well what makeup artist is doing it, because they know your skin and the way it goes on. And there was this one day I had off because I had, actually it's a scene in, with the spiders, when we were covered in cobwebs. That's actually, when I'm in that scene, that's actually a double for me, because I came out in a big scars on my face because the makeup was really hurting. And I remember being at home on my own. Everyone was shooting, and I was in my flat, my house, and I had like lots of music playing. I was in my underpants, and I was just like dancing. My face was a bit red, I was a bit dancing. And then I went to hang out my clothes on the washing line. And as I was doing it, like I was singing to myself, I heard a voice, and I stayed on a lovely beachfront in New Zealand. And it was Orlando Bloom walking down the road. And he went, "All right, mate." And it shocked me so much, I screamed really loudly. I went, "Ah!" And I dropped all my washing, and he was like, "Oh!" And so my first introduction to Orlando Bloom was me in my underpants, and washing all over the floor. And he was like, "Hi!" I was like, "Oh God, hi, hi, oh gosh, hi." So yeah, that was my one memorable moment from having that teaches me for having a day off work, I think. So yeah, I wasn't cool at all. There was nothing cool, remotely cool about it.
That is amazing. Something else that I noticed is actually the first time I saw you, because I'm one of these people, I have a 13,000 movie collection, all legit DVD Blu-ray copies, so it sometimes takes a lot of time until I see movies. So I think it was last year when I first watched the Hobbit trilogy. So the first thing, I have huge backlogs and I forget things. So the first time I actually saw you perform as an actor was not Ori. Actually, it was on my PlayStation. and you know where I'm getting at. It's a video game called The Bunker that you did, which is
That's
a very...
the first time you've seen me on... First time? Oh, wow.
That was the first time, and it was a cool concept. It was a cool story. So what would be interesting for me, because for those who do not know, The Bunker is a full-motion video game, like the classic Wing Commander game. So you decide, you just make decisions, and then the story progresses based on what you selected. So characters can die or survive. There are multiple endings. I really like these games. So what I have to imagine, how many different versions of one scene do you have to shoot to make this concept work? And in general, when you compare producing a movie like the Hobbit trilogy with this full-motion video game, what are the key differences for you as a performer?
I think that's a really good question, because for the film, there's one arc of a story, and your character has a journey. But with the video game, the player can choose which journey it goes on. So emotionally, you can go from emotional levels for an actor from here and then up to here again with kind of a big leap. And also it's so I mean, The Hobbit was time consuming because of the detail, but in terms of the story arc for the video game, it took ages, absolutely ages. But it was a really interesting project. I really enjoyed it, and but quite lonely, because I was like the lead character on my own in this bunker, and you took me around this kind of nuclear bunker. So I was, there'd be times when I'd be lifting up the glass and then putting it down, or moving it here or moving it there, just really mundane things that the player would have to do in order to open the door to get through to another game. So yeah, it was really kind of time consuming, but it was good fun.
Yep. And what is also interesting, I haven't seen this because I don't think it was released around here, but apparently, according to IMDb, the Bunker video game was turned into a movie in 2017, 1 year after the game came out. And when I saw this, I was like, how can that work?
Yeah, it's a short film, I believe. Yep. But yeah, I've not seen it either.
Yep.
But apparently it's really good, and it went to the Cannes Film Festival and did pretty well, I think. And yeah, like it was kind of a new thing. So yeah.
Because you were also in the movie version, so that was also something that I thought: is it a new film version?
No,
or is it the same footage?
It's shot from it's taken from the footage from the video game.
Very, very, very nice. Let's have. No, I think we are going to do the Pirates of the Caribbean things tomorrow, because we only have like 5 minutes left. And I don't want to waste the pirate stuff. So when we stick with The Hobbit for a second, or The Bunker, if any one of you have played it, you definitely should. Is there a question from the audience to Adam? Please, take the mic.
Yay! Hello.
Hi.
Hi there.
So my question would be, before you were in The Hobbit, were you a fan of The Lord of the Rings? And if so, who is your favorite character?
In Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Yes, I was. I hadn't read the books, but I remember going every year at Christmas to see it with my dad in the cinema. And I think my favorite character, it's very difficult because it's Billy Boyd, because he's one of my favorite people, I think. So yeah, and also I think I could have played that part as well. I'd like to have played that. So Billy, yeah, lovely Billy Boyd. Pippin, right.
We would have time for just one more question. If there is one more person who wants to ask Adam, or else you can... Yes! Great.
Hi there. Oh, it's not working. Hey.
It's not working. So, at the beginning of the first Hobbit movie, you have this scene where the dwarves are cleaning up after themselves. How much of that was choreographed and how much was CG?
Some of it was not choreographed at all. It was just chaos. It was just absolute pandemonium. Obviously, some of the plate throwing was CGI, but I can tell you, there is a scene where I believe it's, I think it's James Nesbitt who chucks an egg into Bomber's mouth. I don't know if that is in the film or in the special features. I believe it's in the film, but that happened. And when that happened, the excitement from all the dwarves, it was like being at a football match. It was the most exciting thing ever to see this egg just disappear in Stephen Hunter's mouth. It was just like, yes, wicked! So yeah, so some of it was CGI'd, but the best bits were definitely actually shot for real. So that one was a real life moment there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you all for your questions. Thank you all for being here, for joining us. Especially a huge thank you to Adam Brown.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Please, you're welcome.